All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of The Capsule. This is the show where we bring you our thoughts, feelings, and opinions on all the topics in and around the street dance scene for this week. I'm here with two of my closest peeps and two of my favorite guest hosts, Talladega and Genevieve.
And Genadega.
And Talladega and Genadega. Today we're going to talk about Alyssa Liu and her viral ice skating routine, I guess. I don't know how you call it. Win, gold medal.
Yes.
Let me not downplay. And we're also going to talk about the reel of Diana Matos that has gone viral a little bit and people have been sharing it around our parts. And yeah, we're going to get into some thoughts about that. So yeah, let's get into it. And yeah. So you guys have all seen this ice skating. Am I downplaying it by calling it ice skating? What do they call it? Figure skating.
Figure skating.
Figure skating. I can't call it ice skating. So what do we think? I mean, you guys saw the routine. What are your initial?
Did indeed.
The gold medal winning routine.
I don't think you were in the room when I said I didn't know airtime was a technical term. So I love that. Yeah, okay, so I've got some stuff on that. So let's just do a bit of background for people watching at home. So this girl, Alyssa Liu, and actually maybe background for you guys. She is quite young. I think she's 20 at the moment. But basically, she won the US Nationals in figure skating at like 13 or so. Wow. And one of the things that was making her so like a big deal was like she was landing these triple axel jumps, which is 3.5 turns. So you take off forwards and land backwards, right, which is weird in a way, like you can't really see where you're going. Whereas, yeah, if you're landing the same way that you're facing, you kind of can spot. Mm-hmm. Where if you take off, you have to find your landing in the air, if that makes sense. Yeah. Kind of. Anyway, it's difficult. It's more commonly done in the men's figure skating, not so much in the women's. And she was not only doing it in the women's, she's landing it at like 13. So she was a bit of a boss already. Killed it from when she was like 13 to 16. At 16 she retired, which is wild to retire at 16, and was like, I'm stepping back and blah blah blah, and then took a break for 2 years, came back and won an Olympic gold. Insane. In this year's Winter Olympics. She's from Oakland, and yeah, she's dope. I mean, the routine that she did in the Olympics that you guys watched, I think is the same as her US Nationals win. It's the same routine. Sure. Victory lap. Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's just something that I guess it works for her. So
if it's a winning routine, it's a winning routine. What do you want? Yeah.
And in terms of the judging thing, it's so interesting how they judge it. And I'm like, I wonder if there's I'm sure people that are, looking into the dance judging have researched all the different stuff. But for me, I always use skateboarding as an example of like a parallel kind of cultural freestyle thing that you have to now judge to breaking, let's say, for example, when that was in the Olympics. But figure skating isn't far off. And I think what's interesting is they have 9 judges. Do you know all this or not? No. They have 9 judges. Those judges, they have like kind of 2 sets of scores that they have to give. One is each trick that you do has like a base score. So let's say it's like the triple axel or whatever might be like an 8-point trick, let's say. That's your base level that you're not guaranteed to get, but it's like the base of that trick.
Like if you land it successfully, you get 8 points.
Kind of, yeah. That's right. Like the bare minimum. The neutral zone is 8 points for that trick. If you land it shakily or not fully rotate or blah blah blah, they can minus you. So they might say it's an 8-point trick, but
6 points
you get 6 points. Or if you kill it, they can add points. Right. So that's the first thing. In the routine, they're required a certain amount of tricks. It has to be like certain amount of jumps, certain amount of this, certain amount of that. And each of those tricks that you attempt, they'll be like, oh, that was a triple axel, that's an 8, but it's shaky, so that's a 6, blah blah blah. Then on top of that, they have a judging system which is really similar to like the breaking thing, which is like the skill set of your actual skating. It's like the composition, it's the kind of like all those different like metrics. Yeah, metrics. So there's like 5 categories, I think, which are quite similar to how breakers would be judged. But then they kind of add those 2 together. So it's like all your base tricks plus or minus the points that plus these 5 categories where they give you a mark. They add it all together. And then they take off like deductions and whatever,
for whatever the things might be that need to be deducted.
Mm-hmm.
My answer to your question in the beginning of like the technical stuff, they have on top of those 9 judges, they have another 5 judges on the side, which are like the technical squad. That's not what they call them. That's what I call them. And their job is purely to look at the tricks and to be like, okay, that, like they'll look at it like almost in slow-mo or whatever, and they'll be like, that didn't count as a triple axel because it was only 3 1/4.
Right, got you.
So they're making sure that the tricks that they're being judged on qualify to meet the standard of that trick.
Yeah.
So there's like those 5 that are just qualifying your tricks, then these 9 judges are doing the thing. So
thorough.
yeah.
But
really
I thought it was crazy because when you watch it, like you watch a routine and you see the points like are getting added up, like she lands a thing, then you're like, oh, 6 point, like it's instant.
But do we think that that's the live experience, or is that because we're watching it on replay? That's a good question for me.
Oh well, if it's replay, then I would...
you know what I mean, and they're adding the tricks on, like they're adding the points on live.
I would think that that's just a live stream. That's like, I don't think they would have added that after.
Maybe.
But anyways, I thought that was quite crazy to see, like how in real time we're getting like also the measure of the height of the jump. Like all of that is, I
mean, this is all like technology as well. They can like measure these things, like you know, with like
there's like cameras
the
all
NFL
around.
or the football, they can see if the VAR and all that shit. But also the thing that's interesting is like, you know, you have this in gymnastics as well, where they finish the routine and then you always see when you're watching the Olympics, like they show the athlete with their coach and they're sitting there and like talking, oh, you did great, and it's like that's while they're calculating all the scores, and then they all look up and go, oh, I got an A, which I think is interesting with, let's say, breaking or dance battles. Is like the judgment is instantaneous. There's no time to like ponder, and I wonder if that's a good thing in a way. Like, why can't we have a 1 minute break? Like, okay, the things finish, the judges look at their scores and then give them like 1 or 2 minutes to like tally up, think about it, and then go 3, 2, 1. Like, why do we have this thing of like it has to be immediate?
I think, like, I might be wrong, but I feel like maybe it, like, that does happen in a way in the prelims, you know, when they decide who makes it through, then they have time to confer. But I think like in terms of instantaneous judging, when it's like round for round, I feel like there's kind of a, not a bias, but maybe this is just my personal impression, but that when there's a little bit of time for judges to think, that they tend to consult each other, and then that
would have
kind
to be
of
a strict thing that they can't.
That has a little bit of a tone of they're influencing each other, and one might sway the other, so it becomes unfair. So I feel like part of the instantaneous decision is to not be tainted and not be influenced by other people's decisions, so you just have to make it on your own right now, which I don't necessarily think is right, but I don't know, I feel like the other option would be, they would have time to confer with each other and influence each other, so it's fair if it's just their opinion right there, then and there.
I feel if we needed to quantify it or like get it down in a specific way, then there'd be that time, and I suppose that is what's happening in the Olympics. If they were just having to make a decision, then it could be instant, because they're having to put it into
numbers,
numeric numbers,
sure, right,
and
it's like
categories.
They're
like
just
that's
picking
what the
left or
time's
right
for, I suppose.
I don't know. I wonder if there's something that because even the idea of like, let's say in breaking specifically, like there are some things that are like new tricks that have never been done, or like people have like interesting ways of doing things or whatever, but there are a lot of set tricks, like air flares or something, head spins or something, you know, there are set tricks. So I wonder if this idea of introducing, because I always thought it was an either or, like either we're figure skating and gymnastics where things have a point system, and then you just have breakers go in and do trick to tick off the list. But what it seems like with figure skating is they have that plus an artistic metric. So I wonder if, let's say if we added that to breaking, where we have, you know, you do have your normal scoring of these artistic things, but then you say, well, in that there was an air flare, there was this, there was that, you know, an air flare is an 8-point thing and they did it a bit shaky, so that's it, and add those on. Would that help? Or I don't know, did
they not do that for the last Olympics?
No, it's literally just the sliders, but I think the idea being that like, and what has happened with this now is what this, and also I heard this as a critique of figure skating, is that like now it's like people are just putting their tricks in, you know, to get the points that they need and blah blah blah.
It's very HHI.
Exactly. And I think this is what they don't want it, because let's say in breaking you could have someone who's like a powerhead, the way that they've designed the system, which is great actually. Someone who's a powerhead ideally shouldn't automatically win against someone who's sick at footwork, if that makes sense. So like, even though one is way harder physically than the other, there's kind of a balance of like, okay, you win in like certain areas, but then the other areas can like balance it out. Whereas if we're just giving points to tricks, like the powerheads are going to win, you know what I mean, more often.
Yeah.
There's also an interesting thing that I thought, I don't know how it relates, but I find it interesting. In the last, I forget how long, or I think the routines are 4 minutes. I think in the last 10% of the routine or whatever. No, it's in the last 60 seconds of the routine, I think. All the tricks that you do in the last 60 seconds have a 10% score bonus.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe you're tired.
Exactly. So what they do now, and that's why I think the second half of her routine was way more
interesting. That's
packed
cool.
with stuff, because it's like, and I think it's even like, yeah, depending on where you have it in your routine is different points, but yeah, so basically it's like if you can land a triple axel in the last 60 seconds or in the last third of your routine or whatever, I might be getting the details wrong, but like there's a difference of points based on where it is in the set, because they know you'll be tired. So a lot of these athletes, they're more dancey in the beginning, and then the last 60 they just go in for it, which I think is also interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you would take that strategy if there were more points at the end. It's interesting.
True. But also then it's like more points at the end, but you're way more risky. You could land 7 of them in the first minute because you're fresh.
Yeah.
But then you're taking the risk to get the extra 10 points. You know what I mean? Like 10%.
Yeah.
She looked like she was having the time of her life, honestly. Like I did get goosebumps watching it, and I don't really is underplaying. I don't pay attention to figure skating, but she looked like she was having a really lovely time, and like to know the story as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
cool.
She has like I think it's like she's kind of captured a moment in time, and also because of so many different things that she not like
represents.
Yeah, but I think because also she is the daughter of a political refugee from China.
Single dad as well.
Yeah, who grew up in the States. And funnily enough, from what I've read, allegedly, like China offered her millions to represent China because they want the medal.
Is it Eileen Gu? Yeah, she's American race. She went back to China to compete.
She decided to represent China. So
sold out.
But so she said no. And decided to continue representing the US. And I think it was also like she kind of made some statements about, you know, like, I'm at that point in my life now where like nobody's gonna tell me what to eat, and that I'm not skinny enough. Like, fuck you if you're not happy with the way that I look, and blah blah blah. So I think it's
insinuating that China were that way inclined?
Not necessarily China, but I think it's just like figure skating has been like a sport that has a lot of eating disorders and kind of pressure for women to look a certain way and whatnot. And
this is also goes in hand with the like triple axel and all that stuff, where it's like the women's isn't supposed to be about power, big tricks. Right. It's like look pretty, do you know what I mean? Like
good for her, especially at that young age to make such bold.
She's from Oakland
stances.
as well.
Yeah. So no, I think it, you know, that and kind of not necessarily looking conventional either with the like striped hair, piercing. So I think all of that, and I think there's like another girl from the States who, I don't know if she won a medal in figure skating, but where she had something like with the LGBTQ flag or something like that. She took a picture and then that she made a statement that was like, people hate to see two woke bitches win. But yeah, so I think it's really great. And you know, I don't consume a lot of figure skating content, but I feel like especially at that level, sometimes it looks very much like an execution of high level performance and not like a performing expression, like a very not emotive, but it's like she really looked like she was having fun and she was performing. And you can see also like, you know, there were moves in there that was like, you can see a character and a personality, where it's not just like a tick box tick box exercise, which can be really impressive at that level, of course, but also can be a little bit feel like cold and just an execution, which is sometimes my thing with watching not sport but like
artistic sport.
But this is the same issue in breaking sometimes.
Yeah.
Whereas like you have some people that are like executing crazy high level tricks and power, and you're like really impressive, but I don't like
not
I think
moved by it at all.
Yeah, not moved by it. And I wonder if there's something in the like, I mean, there's nothing really in her routine that says imperfection to me, but I wonder if there's something in the imperfection of like, what if we had to quantify, what are those human moments that make you feel like, is it where she's doing everything exactly perfect like a robot, or is it where she's kind of breaking out?
Knee slides, baby.
Yeah, the knee slides.
Those knee slides were crazy.
With the head.
But for me, the knee thing, why I was like, oh shit, is almost like I have this feeling of like, oh, I didn't know they were allowed to do that. Like that's something that I wouldn't expect them to do, which is what makes me kind of love it as an artist, I guess. More.
Yeah. But no, I think it just felt like I don't know, I had a certain like looseness in the physicality that sometimes I feel watching it can be a little bit like not stiff but like very kind of upright and held, and she felt like she was just kind of jamming.
I'm sure it was very finely choreographed, but those moments felt like she'd broken out of the sequence and just like let loose.
Yeah. And one thing that I was watching with like her, I was watching an interview with her coaches, and you know, they were kind of saying like, of course, that she has all those like incredible abilities and that she was able to do things when she was super young, but you know, kind of they were saying, first of all, how rare it is to have somebody take a year gap and a break that's long, that is that long, and to come back and still be as strong and still be able to deliver. But they said that one of the biggest kind of changes is that for all her childhood and kind of young teenage years, she was dropped off at the ice rink, told what to do, how to land, how to do things, and that she went off and like lived her life and got a bit of life in her, and she came back a lot more as a collaborator.
Like assertive and
and able to say her opinion, what she wanted, how she saw herself, and that made her enjoy skating, and that also upped her level as a performer from what she was already able to do technically. So I think like artistically and as a performer, it's like something that's so important to think about, of like, okay, you're able to show up and just do something, do what you're told, but then when you're able to actually inject yourself and to be working with a team of people that believe in you, of course, but that are able to like take that to the next level, I think it just kind of allows you to transcend being an amazing performer or athlete in this sense, you know, and to really kind of find a way of expressing yourself, because that can happen in a lot of different disciplines that don't necessarily need to be like intrinsically, I mean, of course figure skating is artistic, but it's like a sports discipline before it's an artistic discipline.
I thought of this the other day, just in like getting feedback on work and stuff, and like thankful there's a balance to be found between calling it in and just following your own North Star and what you believe a thing to be. And I think it's important not to block feedback out fully and stuff, but I did consider how rocked I would be by certain feedback if I didn't have a good sense of what the work was, and just made me think of some of my students and younger people and how malleable you are to feedback, and just people telling you what you should do. And I remember having conversations with III folks, and also Lee at Artists for Artists. I can't remember if she said it in a Artists for Growth program, but just at some point, we've spoken about this before, I'm sure, you stop learning and implement. Like you can't just continue, like you can, but a good student isn't one that's just forever in intensives and classes and training and, well, training sessions, yeah, sure, like a looser thing. But if you're just constantly going places and being told what to do. The time has to come where you do what she did and like go off, and not even about living life outside of the whatever the form is, but just integrating it into your own profile, for want of a better word, just to connect a dot.
I wonder if there's, I mean, I also think about this sometimes where it's like there's some people that I wonder if the distinction there, because I 100% agree with what you're saying, but I wonder if the distinction is like people in a way their intention, like, because I see that some dancers and I'm like, they just want to go class and they just want to, you know, learn and not really do. And I'm like, maybe that's like, you just got into dance because you want to be told what to do and have a little bit of, and like my instinct is to be like, that's wrong, but like that's very judgmental of me. Like I think it's like if they're getting what they need out of it, sure, but it's almost like,
yes, but it depends what the goals are.
But in a way, like, this is going to sound really harsh, but like I, as an artist, I don't respect it. You know what I mean? Like I think it's like,
damn, shots fired.
No, but like,
you and you're right to do so, but don't respect it.
No, I mean, I have to respect it, but like, it's like you're valid to use dance as an outlet to, you know, it's like people that go and do yoga, they're not trying to be yoga practitioners, but they're like just go into yoga every week because they like to have just release. If you're using dance for that type of thing,
got you.
But
if you're in jiu-jitsu,
sure, like you're not trying to be like a competitor necessarily, but you love doing it. But it's like there might be someone that's like a high level jiu-jitsu person that's like, granted you're allowed to do that, but I don't consider you part of like the jiu-jitsu.
It's like you're a tourist, you're a hobbyist.
Which is fine, you're allowed to, but that's kind of how I feel about people that don't do what you said, which is like integrate. I'm like, that's an essential part of becoming, not becoming an artist as in a professional or part of our world in a clique way, but like embodying an artist until you've made that transformation where you're making conscious decisions, you're putting yourself into the dance, into the movement. For me, that's when I'm like, okay, now you're in my eyes like validated as an artist, I guess. Although it sounds harsh, but
no, I understand, because the yoga analogy is good, because I do practice at home, but I'm still following along to a thing on YouTube, and I'm going to class, but I'm following along, like that's my guide, and I can measure my progress in like flexibility or, you know, just like my breath maintaining, even if I'm in difficult positions, whatever. And I think that's the bit. It's like, please do go to these classes and just follow along and learn the steps. And I think even if you don't want to be an artist, there is that element that if you're stepping in to learn, there still needs to be that moment of, am I actually benefiting from what's gone on my body? Like, am I picking up any quicker? I suppose just a reflection on the metrics, for want of a better,
or else it's just a glorified fitness class in a way.
Which again, depending on your aims,
is valid.
But if it's to get better, then you have to kind of check in and see if that's happening.
Sure.
It's like doing yoga or being a yogi. Like,
I don't know what the difference is.
It's like okay, I do, like, let's say what I was saying is like,
I'm a regular at yoga, Bikram yoga.
He knows the style, the problematic one.
I was gonna say, wasn't he like fucking arrested or something?
No, but it's like, okay, doing jujitsu or being a martial artist. Like,
yes, there we go.
Like, I don't have I'm just trying to, like, doing yoga, like you do yoga at home or in a studio, or you've like studied yoga and
it's a lifestyle.
You know the philosophy. You know.
Sorry,
you know what
the whole table
vinyasa means.
I know what vinyasa means. What
Who doesn't
know? It means, you know, when you're in that state of vinyasa.
Okay, shall we?
Okay, next topic. I think we've been around. Shout out to Alyssa Liu.
Wow,
Alyssa Liu.
Just
that is a bit of a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Alyssa Liu.
Yeah. Sophia, what did you think of it? Are you going to start ice skating?
I love it. She's so cool.
Nice.
Nice.
Next topic.
Good job.
Okay, Tally. I brought you here for one reason and one reason only.
I can't wait to hear your take.
I
set it up.
I texted Tally about this and she was like, save it for the pod. See you on Monday. Okay, Diana Matos.
Why do you say Matos, by the way?
That's what Ines said to say.
Oh, really?
Is it? Matos?
Match.
Interesting.
Just say it the way
Portuguese, right? Yeah, I
says.
sorry, I wouldn't have known.
That's
That's
just
me
say how you say it.
anglicizing. I'm sorry. I was like, she's not
AKA
Polish.
Diana Matos.
Diana Matos.
You're like Madosh. I'm like, I think she's married to an Eastern European
Oh
person.
right, I see the link. I thought you just pulled Polish out of your
I
ass.
was like, what's going on?
Okay.
Go on.
I'll play what she said for the people at
Why
home.
aren't you in foundation classes? Even if not on Fridays here at Monsters, back home where you from, why? I could tell like 99% of you have no awareness of your body or have been in these places before in order to put them together and be able to remotely be able to do it. If you've never been there with how intricate it is, how musical, how physical, with all the things that is challenging, there's just no way. Yes? Yeah. So again, there is no way you can do choreography without the foundation. Choreography is just phrasing. Yes or no? Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Why?
Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
to class.
that's a great way to end it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to class.
Okay. I have questions. What did you take from that reel before because I want to say two things. I want to say more things than two things. But the first thing is, I don't want to do what people do to this podcast, which is like see a reel out of context and like misunderstand it. However, it doesn't mean we're not able to discuss the reel that we did see.
Sure.
I just understand that I may be missing context and there may be more things that I don't understand about what she
What
said
happened
before that.
yeah.
But from the reel, what did you understand that she meant?
That the students in the class did not display that they had foundations, and that she believes that they need foundations to be able to do her or indeed other choreography.
And foundations meaning hip hop foundation, like street
styles,
not
foundations.
Like contemporary ballet, like that. Classical.
That's not what I took
Okay.
from it. No. Some context. Monsters is a big dance convention in the States, and I think, as she referenced, there are foundation classes at said convention.
Okay.
What style? Like, what does she teaches choreography, but what kind of choreography?
This is where I'm going.
Oh,
it's
sorry.
Like it's choreography. It obviously has like influences from certain places, but she's never been like, I'm an Afro dance choreographer. I'm a hip hop choreographer. No. It's just choreography, right? Now, here is my question / issue. I have been for a long time like in defense of choreographers because there was a lot of like kickback from the freestyle scene for a while, especially in the UK, about like, oh, people are teaching like hip hop or saying it's hip hop on the thing, and then they're just teaching personalized choreography, sometimes not even to hip hop songs, and they're not explaining the foundation steps, they're not explaining what they're doing, and you're saying you're teaching hip hop and you're not, you're just teaching choreography. And when people have put on their flyer choreography or like, you know, Dylan mayoral class or whatever without, you know, the style name, I have always been in defense of choreographers behind closed doors and in front, where it's like, you can't say shit about their choreography now, even if it's to an Afro song, it looks like they've got some Afro steps in there, or it's like to a popping song and it's got some like stuff that looks like a walkout but kind of badly done. If it's choreography, I'm like, you're allowed to interpret whatever you want, whether that's mime or whether it's popping or whether it's house, but as long as you're not saying this is house, and even better if you're kind of saying, by the way guys, I'm not teaching you house, I've just used this steps as influence. I think that's fine, and I don't think that's an issue. Now this is where I start to have concern about what Deanna says, because what she's basically saying in that reel is that choreography is, and specifically hers, but she's speaking on behalf of all choreography, which again, you might not have like had the place to do that, but she's saying her choreography is built on foundational dances that she's just phrasing. Now I have an issue with her choreography again, because it's not, because the same thing I was defending now isn't true to defend. Because I would have said, if somebody said, oh, Deanna or whoever, they're teaching hip hop and this and that, like I would say, well, they don't have a responsibility to like explain, it's just influence, movement, blah blah blah, whatever. Now if you're saying, okay, all of my dance is built on foundation stuff, now I'm like, I have to preface this with saying I know from a fact that I met Deanna at Eurobattle years ago, so I know she battled in London, she's done hip hop, like I don't question her history with it. But now if you're saying I teach classes regularly all around the world that are built on foundations, now I have questions about how you're keeping up with your foundations, what you're giving back to these styles that you're now saying you're coming out and saying you're taking from these styles. So what are you giving back? Thirdly, why are you teaching a class
that needs homework before they've even got there. Why are you not doing your due diligence to teach the students what they need to know in order to do your class? That you're coming in and saying, this is a class built on foundations, but you figure it out and then come to my class.
Right.
It's like, no, you educate people in the styles that you're supposedly teaching,
Right.
which all of that is alleviated if you just say, this is just my choreography influenced by a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
But when you're saying, no, this is foundations, I'm like, now I have questions. And the other thing with that is like, then we can start taking a look at your choreography and we can start going, well, if you're saying this is built on foundations, me as a freestyler who spends and I admittedly get sensitive about this stuff, and I think a lot of people do, because we spend
No shit.
but we spend years like the amount of research and understanding and like playing and testing and stuff that comes into like the way, and it might not seem it because like, oh, this person doesn't win loads of battles or this person whatever, like you can say what you want about my level or other people's, but for us, even to not get through prelims, but the way I have integrated styles and foundations and moves into my dance is a personal choice rooted in like culture and years of like traveling and speaking to people and sitting down and with like sitting at a workshop with Khalif and be like, why is this like this? Or going to meet this person and be like, why is this like this? And then making my own decisions based on that and forming it into this product which I'm proud of as my art, which for me is culture, and that's how these things go. So now you're saying, well, I teach foundations, and I feel like I
don't think she said that, but go on.
Sure, I think this is where the context and the like interpretation comes in. I'm like, if what I'm taking from it is true, then I can look at your choreography and go, oh, so you're claiming this is that style. You're not saying it's influenced by, you're not saying it's my choreography. But now if you're saying, no, all choreography is built on just phrasing together real foundations, all my criticisms, which I've been like dispelling, are all now validated. To add on to that is this question of like, so why do you, like I said before about why you're teaching a class that I have to do my pre-homework to come to? Because your job is to teach me. So if you know that you're going to teach, like when Frankie goes and teaches at classes,
You are.
sorry, I work at camps. I mean, sorry, yeah. But please, like, cuss me out for all of this. This is like my thoughts.
I'm trying to hold on to all the points you're making so I can respond to them all, but there are many.
Sorry,
so
yeah.
I'll do my best.
But like when like Frankie goes to teach house at like a commercial like camp or you know whatever, or Sean teaches popping, they go in knowing these people are not poppers, they're not house dancers. So I'm going to teach in a way that enables them to access the style. They don't go in and teach like a high level house class and then go, you guys should learn house before you come to my class. It's a class. Like, why can't I walk into your class and learn from you, not having done years of, like, again, maybe there's context I'm missing. Maybe you're supposed to be of a certain level when you're at this camp and you're not allowed. I understand that, but I'm just going based off the real.
Sure.
So yeah, cuss me out.
I mean, it's not a cuss out, because I think it's just like, for me, the response is, you know, if maybe this is for people who are supposed to be professional and working, it's a different like response that I would have than if it's in an open class that anybody can go to.
Sure, okay, that's fair.
So I think that would kind of differentiate how I would react to this. But like, you know, to your, like, kind of addressing some of what you said, but my kind of thought watching it was kind of like, well, according to what you're saying, for me, it's like there's something weird about like go to foundation class so you can do choreography. Like for me, the point of like, I'm not saying don't go to foundation class, but it's like if you want to learn a style, the point of doing a foundation is to also be able to like express yourself. And like if you're just doing a foundation in order to do choreography better, then that kind of defeats the purpose of like that first class. Like you can learn technique, but if it's just technique for technique's sake, then that's not really the purpose of why this dance is there for. So I don't know.
This is what I won't say who it is. No, I can, because he put it out on Insta. Migs put out a thing on Insta on his stories. You know Mig, right? Yeah. He kind of said this thing of like his point to that. I don't know if it was, no, let me not say that. I don't think it was necessarily in response to just Deanna. I think it was a wider topic. Yeah. But he did say about choreo foundation. But he was like, you're just going there learning the thing to go and do your choreo. And it's like these dances are like a give and take cultural thing. Yeah. It's not just like, hey, thanks, I can go.
Yeah, because I didn't learn I was not learning all my drills in the early 2000s with any intention to battle. I was learning them to be able to do my popping routine in the sets.
Yeah.
But the world that I was in, it felt like that's what we were all doing. It's not like I was opting out of battling. Battling was happening in a very separate space, and this is me in Boy Blue kind of plague setting, so I definitely didn't grow up taught. And with hindsight, Kenrick was in his early 20s, like everyone was just figuring out the
thing. Worth saying, like in those days there wasn't a huge battle scene here.
Yeah, so I think learning foundations to do choreography was what I did. I do think that foundations help choreography, and I think putting just myself into it, the reason that I can take 10 classes a year and still be fine, the class that comes to mind for me is Toby, who I've referenced before, Winfield Robinson, where if I didn't have foundation, I wouldn't have the reference points, which would make everything a lot more difficult. If, say, my pickup was a bit rusty and I also didn't have the reference point, it would be a bit of a fluff. But because I have the reference, it's kind of a shortcut, and I pick up quicker because I can see what the sequencing is and what have you, which I think is what Deanna was getting at. I don't think her stuff is so individualized that it pulls away from the styles entirely. I think if you were to pick them apart with that eye, you would see them. Before I keep on going, I'm aware that I cut halfway through your point, so let me. I think the manifesto that you gave about the time that you've put in, that's not me being shady. No, and don't apologise for it. But just the bit of your point where you said where you come from, I was listening to you and I'm like, I think Deanna would say the exact same thing about herself in terms of her commitment to the culture.
Sure.
And from a student, I agree with what she's saying, and I do think that fair enough, hit choreography is really individualized now. I think that is true and doesn't literally take groove steps and house steps and like plant them in 4 count blocks so they're very clearly farmer into such and such. Like it's not that cut and dry, but I think they pull clearly enough for foundations in street styles to aid. So I think that's true. As teacher, as someone that's just come out of working with third years where my expectation of them was higher than where they were at, I can assume that Deanna knows the people in the room or the context of monsters enough to know that they're aware of what foundations are, and that they are choosing to not engage. It would be different if she's talking to a room where, like, do you know that they know that foundations play into choreography? Like, do you know that they're just choosing not to do it? Right. Or is there a step of education missing where their training up to this point hasn't made clear, hey, you know that these steps are pulled from these places, and in respect to those places, go take, but also to help inform your practice, go take. Like, there may be a layer of knowledge that they don't have, and she's assumed that they have and have opted out of. Do you know what I mean? So she's telling them off for something that I assume they knew, but I don't know that they know. And that was me to a degree in my work with these young people, is that I'm like, you've been in this building for 3 years, like, how can you not know ... But I don't know for sure that they were taught it.
Right.
Like, just some of them learnt to count with me, and I'm just like,
yeah, that's wild. But I think
one assumes you may have come across a count or musicality in the 3 years you've been in this establishment.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is inference in a way of like, okay, if I take it like this, then that means that. If it take like there's a lot of generalizations in what she's saying that depending on how you interpret it could piss you off in a way.
I think in the workshops with Jonathan Burrows the past couple of weeks, so many of the students there came from like fusion and said, I work between these styles, and he was talking about 30 years ago that not being a thing, and between myself, I was there, Jasmine Saulo and Gled Hudson, they were both there, and we were definitely in at the forefront, meaning like at the beginnings of it as opposed to the ones leading the charge, but we were definitely there in that time where we were taking contemporary, like more lyrical contemporary classes, very much across the street styles, and we're just starting to express ourselves through our training. And we did have to give those classes labels, which is where the contemporary hip hop came into play, and where rightly there was uproar. But I do think there was something good about having to label it, codify it somehow. Like, we're not saying it's could put an it is contemporary and hip hop, because those are the two things that I'm well versed in, and those are the two things I'm channeling in my movement. And then a student has some sense of what on earth is going to be going on. I think the fusion stuff is brilliant, but we're individualized so much that someone just arriving in this city, as I was told by a student not too long ago, is like, it's overwhelming because you just have no idea what you're walking into. Just like choreography, like what of what kind, where. And I think I don't think it would hurt to try to standardize it again a little bit, so that you could tell your Deanna from, like, there's no way to tell Deanna's choreography from Lucas McFarlane's.
It's just different
on
people.
a piece of paper. But I would say that Deanna is one that I don't think I think she's one step removed from foundation as drill and not drill music obviously, but just like sequences. Sure. And pulling it apart. I don't think she's so far away that I think the foundations are very clear when I watch.
I think my more point is like not necessarily to say, and that's why I said like I remember Deanna from battling, like I've seen her for a long time, but like not to necessarily say she isn't valid in those styles or whatever, but now you have a higher responsibility. That's kind of more my point. Is like if that's the case and you're saying,
I understand.
That,
I would agree
like
with. I'd agree with that.
Now we can look at it and go, okay, cool for the most part, but now this and this. Did you explain what that means in this and that? Like, I think there's a bit more of responsibility that comes when you're, and this is like what I would say, and it's like, I mean, I'm trying not to be too much of a dick in this conversation, but it's just like
no, like, but the homework thing I think is valid. Like you shouldn't need. But
if it,
I don't know if I agree though.
If it's at a certain level, like this is a thing that we don't know,
is
and
that who they are. I'm assuming it's an open class. That's why I was saying that.
Because if it's like, why do I need to do work before I come to an open class? Fair enough. But if this is like an advanced, like you had to audition to get into this camp,
which I think you do for months.
Then fair enough.
A mixture,
and so you're supposed to be at a certain level. It's like, okay, well, we would have expected you to have done a certain amount of work in order to get here. And yes, you can pick up choreo, but it's like there's a lot of stuff missing in what you're doing. So to fill that gap, like go take class, go do foundation, so you can actually link these things together, because you're not doing it, which is maybe what I think it's like she's saying. But I think also it's like, and of course the way it's coming off on Instagram and the tone is like,
her tone didn't help.
It's like a tell off, which I think is okay sometimes in the context of
of course, it's just when it gets taken out of context, same with anything.
But I mean, it made me not like to go back on my own argument, but it's like, people go to different classes for different purposes, and I think that, like, if anything, like, even if you're doing it for the sake of a choreography and to be a better, like, dancer, to be choreographed on, then yes, I think it's like, if you know you like a certain type of choreographer and that choreographer uses a lot of like hip hop, then the best thing you could do for yourself is to yourself become better versed in hip hop, and that might come by going to more foundation classes, maybe trying to like freestyle, like to integrate that movement in your body of your own kind of with your own natural movement, as opposed to always waiting to be choreographed by somebody
and
else.
Deanna's stuff is so incredibly hard.
It looks hard.
like it's so hard, and again, as I spoke about with me diving into classes, like it's hard with that foundation to pull from, so without it you will just be flailing in the breeze. And it does make me think of like the choreo community, like the young people, like, again, as someone that comes from that world, I promise you will only get so good, and you only be able to deepen your practice so much in just learning people's interpretations of music, which is what choreography classes are. They may put a 5-10 minute like little groove session in the beginning, but that isn't going to be enough to like really flesh out a dance practice, even if you have no intention of freestyling or making your own work. But again, just to like flesh yourself out as a dancer, I just think foundations are extremely important. And you'll just be skating along otherwise. I just don't know how you can really feel choreo like in your bones if you don't have the reference points for them.
I have other thoughts, but I don't know if
do you hate what I said? Like,
no, not about necessarily that, but I'm just not sold on, like, this is coming
freestyle for choreo. Foundations
like for me,
choreo.
like freestyle, like let's say style classes, and this is less about what you said and more about my feelings on freestyle classes, is like then less about the actual movements and the techniques, because it's not like, I might get killed for saying this, but like a lot of these styles, I don't think it's actually that important how perfectly you do the move. Like, let's say especially in hip hop, but even if we take something like house, right? Let's say like I don't know, like give me a name of a fucking house move. Farmer or something.
Farmer.
Like the farmer didn't get to be a move by intricate workshops. It was in a club that I looked at you and copied it by watching. So for it to be a foundational style, first it grew from like an origin point person or group of people that it then spread. That initial spread for it to become a foundational style or move was done by watching and copying. So it's like these like hip hop social grooves when you tell me like, oh, you need to go to a club to learn like a fucking, I don't know, whatever, like a fucking, your hand has to be here. No, it doesn't, because everyone just did this in clubs. Just copy it. The reason for me you go to class is to get the best access to the understanding of the context. So like why it was done that way. Like if you're doing this move but you're not doing it on boom bap and you're doing it on like a Tele X song, like you're gonna not really understand where the vibe is supposed to be. So I can teach you that in class, but it's not necessarily about perfect placement and body movement, whereas something like ballet or contemporary, maybe when you learn that, it's about the understanding of your body. Like contemporary, I feel like a lot of the training is like less about even the moves that you're doing, but it's about how do you jump, how do you go to the floor, how do you turn, like the physicality of movement. And then you get like people like the Rambert dancers, let's say for example, that can do someone like Marion's choreography and fucking embody it, because not because they've studied contemporary and ballet and that wouldn't help,
just like high-end awareness,
just fucking precision understanding of your entire body, so that if you say, oh, do this move, and you go chink, you're like, cool, I can do that. Whereas a hip-hop dancer might be like, oh, you mean kind of like this, and it's like you haven't got the body awareness to twist your body to be adaptable, I guess. And for me, it's like, I don't know that like going to like a house class every week or whatever, like you're getting a version of how to do those moves, but because freestyle is so, I mean, it's such a big topic, it's hard to like cram it in now, but like there's so many variations of how you do a house step or a hip-hop step or a popping step. Like the walkout, yes, there's a way that the Boogaloos did it, but then like how would the Strutters have done a walkout? What was their version? How would...
Yeah, but this is, I understand what you're saying.
You're missing a trick if you're just learning just the movement, the mechanical movements of a step.
Yeah, but I don't
without
think that...
the context, yeah.
You know, and this is where I'm gonna defend what she's saying versus what you're saying. But I think it's like what you get from a foundation class is, okay, maybe you're gonna spend an hour doing 15 variations of the farmer, but the point of a foundation and then do a routine that's like with the 15 variations of the farmers, and then you're gonna do it in front of each other, and then blah blah blah. But it's like, for me, the point of foundation class isn't to do the foundation move perfectly in a specific way.
Agreed.
The point of a foundation class is to understand like what weaves movement together. So like how to transition from a farmer this and move it into space, and like how that feels in your body and how it integrates into like applying it in a lot of different ways, where it's not necessarily about like, oh, you place it exactly there and do this, but it's more about how to use it in different ways. And I think by doing a lot of different foundational class is like you start to understand how to like weave things together. And that's what she's referring to in terms of choreography, of like how do you sew movement together is by this like underlying groove that she's not going to spend time doing it because she's teaching choreo, but this is what you learn in foundation of like, okay, even if it's like technique doing the Fresno, where it's like, okay, yes, it's the muscle contraction, and maybe in that sense, especially earlier on, popping is a bit more like you have to be more specific technically. For me, it's like doing the Fresno is not just about like 1, 2, exactly. 1, 2. It's like, okay, what is the like weight transfer? How do you make it look natural? Like, what's the swing in your shoulder? How does your head move? How does this blah blah? So it's like, this is for me as much foundation as the contraction, because this is what links the contraction, and this is what makes it dance, and this is what you spend time doing in foundation class. It's like the little in between qualities that she's saying is what is missing, I think.
Yeah. And I think as someone whose style,
great pushbacks, guys.
as someone whose foundations are a little more kind of suppressed by my unique ways or what I've done with them, like I'm in residence at a space and have been for the past like nearly year, and for the last few times that I've been there, like I'm doing a follow along of Frankie's before I start. Is it Dassie?
Yeah.
A pop in of hers.
She's got some great tutorials online.
And then I think there's a hip hop one from, I think it's Daniel Torrey from Germany, and like that's how I'm starting my sessions. And then I realize more and more, like I don't move my feet too much when I improvise, but if I do, I am doing a very like grounded in the floor version of like house steps that I know, and I don't use hits, but I am very definitely using kind of tutting frameworks in my dance and like animation kind of pathways, or just the way that I imagine people that do animation kind of think through their pathways when they dance. And I speak on it when I teach sometimes, but I have clocked that I need to speak about it more, because to a young dancer who doesn't have those foundations, they wouldn't be putting those two things together. And again, like if you were to take a class with Marvel, I think you would be aided in my class.
Fair.
But I wouldn't be like, make sure you go take some animation workshops before you come to take my little lyrical emotion expression. But it would help.
Yeah, but I think it's also it also helps to think about the fact that, or not think about the fact, but I think for dancers who are maybe like the person who were in that class, it's like if you see a choreographer or a dancer or a choreographer or somebody that you want to work with, that you're like, I want to be in their work. I like what they do. It's kind of like, well, if you can see what is underlying in their work, like go train a little bit in that, and then you'll be better equipped to come in this. Like if it's like, oh, I really like Tally's quality of how she like isolates one body part at a time. Okay, well, in what style, like what kind of other style has that quality,
and where did she get that
I can improve
from,
like this is just kind of a not logical but a good way to think about enhancing your training in ways that's not just like let me take 75 classes with Tally.
I'll say like 2 last things which hopefully there won't be too much pushback about,
so we can move on, or because you just don't want pushback.
No. So we can move on. No, because like I think this is all fair, and like this is why we didn't have the conversation on text to like bring these things to like, and I agree with everything you're saying for the record. Like I think this is fair pushbacks to my initial feelings on it, which is, again, I said at the beginning, admittedly from an out of context reel. So it's also just something that I got from what she said out of context, which is the danger of posting these things, you know, which we find out bi-weekly. But 2 things I'll say though is, one, I think maybe choreographers don't always realize the sentiment that is sometimes coming from the freestyle and underground and foundational scenes, because there is a lot of history of choreographers not really understanding a style, but then because they've choreographed fucking You Got Served or whatever, not taking shots at whoever did that because I don't know who it is, but you know what I mean, like because they're a big name, they then teach a workshop and they'll be like popping foundations, and it's like, this like you don't know any popping foundations, but because you're big enough that you can get away with it, you're going to do it, right? And I think nowadays there's a lot more poppers and house dancers who are big names who can now push back against that and be like, who are you? But back, especially 15, 20 years ago when I started, it was like there wasn't a lot of power coming from the battle scene. It wasn't very big as a global thing even. And a lot of choreographers were getting away with it for the longest time, like saying, oh, I teach hip hop, I teach house, I'm going to do this workshop, I'm going to do a house workshop. But yeah, it's just this idea of like these styles being kind of like taken from a cultural place, used, and nothing being given back in that way. And I think, this kind of idea of like cultural exchange and giving something to... Oh, no, there was another thing I was going to say. I'm glad I kept talking. The other thing I was going to say, which may or may not be related, may or may not be related, but I'm just going to say it, is I don't like this idea that you learned foundations at one point, and therefore, because you said about, you know, you do the tutorial, like that's, I'm not necessarily saying about you, but like people will say, oh, I learned my foundations when in 1992, like because these are cultural dances, hip hop is not the same hip hop as it was even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. Neither is popping, neither is house. They evolve every single day. And like, I don't think you can, you're learning in foundational hip hop and street and club styles is never done because culture is never done. It's always fluid. It's always moving. So as much as it is important to learn from the beginning and learn at the essence of what it was and how it was in New York, then it's also important to keep learning and keep understanding the, like what people would call the trends, or like if we say, like, let's say hip hop is built on social dances, but you only know the social dances from the 90s and you don't know like Bobby Schmurder's dance and where that came from and why that's in the same amount of cultural cachet as anything early. So I think again, it's like whether there's choreographers out there that feel like this, but it's like just because you learned once and then stepped away does not now give you credit to go, well, yeah, I can teach a house class because I learned in 2003.
Of course, not to teach, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That is only teaching. Dance, have fun with everything. Like, do what you want. I would never criticize someone from doing a house round, entering prelims, do what you want. But when you're teaching, I think it's different.
I will say that as someone that, like, the lightest touch on styles now, I think if there's anyone that I step into every now and again, it would be house. But I will say kind of credit to my early training and the richness of the cultures of the dance that I, fair enough, not in a current way, but I may be wrong, but it feels like the styles are only ever built upon. There aren't elements of things that I learned that no longer feel like relevant at all.
Sure.
Like the steps that I would have learned in the early 2000s. But I can feel, and maybe my mind and body connection is way off, but I can feel the styles in my bones. And even to step into a house class like once a year, for shame, but I can still be like, oh yeah, like I do know this. I know the root of this dance 100%. And like, are my feet as nimble as they used to be? No, absolutely not. But like the reference points, like they don't leave. And
agreed, yeah.
Try not to like let that stop me from, you know, refreshing. But there is something really affirming about that fact, and again, just a compliment to those dances and those cultures and my teachers at that time, that still feels 20 years after the learning them for the first time, like that they still feel very present in my bod.
And yeah, I agree. Like, I think that's kind of the beauty of these styles. Like you said, they are built on. So like choreography could be like, oh, like let's say me, I did choreography in like 2007. Doesn't mean anything is going to be familiar coming into the scene now.
Right,
Like, people aren't dancing like Jun Komado was. But, do you know what I mean? Or like even Brian Puspos. This type of thing is not the same as what people are doing now. Whereas these styles should feel like, that's good. Like you should feel a sense of familiarity. But I think, like I said, I think my distinction is the teaching.
I was gliding around with Frankie's follow along, like, fuck yeah, just on my own in a room. Anyway,
should we?
Well done, good debate.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Thank you for this. All right, should we move over to Patreon?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Jen, you seem very enthused.
Yeah.
All right. So she was like,
I was just thinking already.
well, yeah, it's been a while. So guys, we have an announcement to make. You can now find the capsule on Patreon.
Woo woo.
So the way that I was told to think about it by someone that I look up to is like that this episode, the public episode, is like you're at the club with us. This is the club. We're all out partying, having a good time.
Spinning our seats.
The Patreon is the house party afterwards.
The afters.
The afters. So if you enjoyed the club, you want to come and find us on a little more of a laid back vibe,
Smoky maybe
smoky, a little bit honest, nothing that we
haze in the air.
Yeah, a little haze in the air. we're a bit we've had a few drinks and we're just chilling at home chatting. If you want to join us on that vibe, you can find us on Patreon. The link will be in the description of this video and in the link in our bio and everywhere else. But yeah, we would love to see you over there. Also, everyone that subscribes to the Patreon, you're helping us to build this, keep the lights on, do what we do. We're really trying to push the ways to build the capsule infrastructurally, and that's really important for longevity. So if you appreciate the work we do, if you want us to keep going, we love all the likes, the comments, the subscribes on the YouTube, on the public episodes. That really helps. But what will help even more is if you go over and subscribe to the Patreon. It's really not that expensive. And yeah.
It's less than a coffee.
Well,
is it?
It depends where you go. Maybe
Depends
it's the same amount as a coffee in Oslo.
Right.
Good. And those are the kind of gems you can expect to find over there.
So yeah, we're going to catch you over on Patreon because we've got some other topics to talk about. We're going to talk about the UK popping scene because I have thoughts.
Oh,
we're going to talk about IDL's cultural
haven't seen,
cultural
can't wait.
heritage brand. I've got some issues. And we're going to talk about Jenny's new book that she's written.
Yeah.
that she's
I'm reading.
I wondered when I saw it on the topic list.
I was like, oh my god, Jenny wrote a book. I was so excited.
In between everything else, when?
Jenny's not writing a book.
This is why she has no capacity.
She's just writing applications. Maybe I'll take all the applications I've ever written and put them in a book.
All right, guys. Catch you over on Patreon. Thanks for tuning in. Leave your thoughts, feelings, and opinions in the comments. Catch you next week.
See you.
Peace.
Love you. Miss you. Bye.